Hi, it's Lucy, and today I'm here to do a video on the worst books that I read in 2018. So yeah, I do a video like this every year. This one is coming a little later than usual. I usually have this video up before the end of the year, or at least very close to the beginning of the next year, but it is what it is. So this year, if you have seen my 2018 stats video, you'll know that the majority of the books that I read, I gave 4 stars, and I actually didn't give any books below 2.5 stars. The books featured in this video are not terrible books, probably. They're just the books that I read last year that I liked the least, which makes them the worst books of 2018. For me, not all of these books were published in 2018. In fact, I only think 1 or 2 of them were, and I only include books that I actually finished, so no DNFs are in this video. All the books that I am going to be talking about, I rated 3 stars or below, and the books aren't ranked. I'm going to be talking about them in the order that I read them in the year. Disclaimer, if you like these books, you can still like them even though I don't like them, blah, 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 disclaimer. So that's out of the way. Now we can get to talking about the books. First, we have Girlboss by Sophia Amoruso, and I managed to start the year off on a bad note. I think this was the first book I finished last year, but basically this is Sophia Amoruso's memoir type book about how she became the CEO of Nasty Gal, which is a women's clothing company. And it's also supposed to be sort of a guide on how you can do something not similar, like not this, but how you can be like a girl boss. You know, lots of people have taken on that term, like sort of feminist or whatever, but Sophia Amoruso herself doesn't really identify as a feminist, so I don't really know. I didn't like this book because she just seemed so condescending throughout the whole book. She didn't really seem to know who her audience was, as a lot of the stories she like told from like her past or whatever in her childhood felt like they would be disconnected from the reader. Like I can't imagine a lot of people being able to relate to the things she said. Some of the tips were helpful, I imagine, as I am not a person looking to start my own business, but I think there are better books probably out there than this. And just Sophia Amoruso's like attitude as it read in the book was just like the icing on the cake of, I didn't like this. Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. I'm definitely in the minority about this book. I didn't really like it, but I know a lot of people really love this book, and I guess it was just not for me. This is a collection of like speculative fiction short stories. They all have like a theme about particularly women's bodies and how they're seen in society, and like feminist topics like such as. This is on this list because it disappointed me so much. I really expected to love this. I love things about feminism. I love like speculative fiction, kind of magical realism type stuff in books. This is the marriage of both things. I thought I was gonna love it, but I did not. I only really liked 2 of the stories that were in here. The reason I know I'm in such a minority is the story that it seems like everyone else loved so much was actually my least favorite story in the collection, or one of my least favorite stories, and that was like the Law and Order retelling. I did not get it at all. Just did not make sense to me. This goes for almost all the stories in here. I kind of understood what she was trying to say, but I felt like the plot elements over top of it were too confusing to really like hammer any of it home. The Price Guide to the Occult by Leslie Walton. This one has a trigger warning for self-harm. This is kind of hard to explain, but this is a YA fantasy sort of novel, urban fantasy, I guess. It follows a girl named Noor whose family tree is cursed, so that every woman in her family finds her true love. They get to spend 3 days with them, and then their true love like goes away and like doesn't like them anymore or something. So everyone in the family is cursed with that. Noor is like the youngest person in the family, and her mother kind of went off and was evil, kind of, or like she wasn't a good mother, so she left Noor with her grandmother. And so we follow Noor as she's just trying to live her life. She's coming into her powers, like it's a witch kind of thing. I'm doing a really good job of explaining it. And then also her mother has kind of like resurfaced as like one of those TV fortune teller things, and she releases a book that promises to give everyone what they want, and so that's bad. Leslie Walton wrote The Strange Sorrows of Ava Lavender. I think that's what the book is called, and that one has super high praise. So this is her sophomore novel. The reason I got this was because I saw it on NetGalley, and I was like, oh, she wrote that other book that a lot of people like, so let me try this one. And I did not like it. The first half was really slow, which I can get behind a slow story, and if it had kept the same pace throughout, then I might have been okay. But like halfway through, it just like speeds up exponentially. The pacing felt super duper off. I didn't think any of the characters were well done, and I didn't really enjoy reading about them. I thought a lot of them were one-dimensional. You barely knew them. There's like a love interest that I kind of understand why it was there, but it didn't need to be there. It didn't really make sense for the plot, and their romantic interest in each other didn't make sense because they're I did not believe that they liked each other for 0.1 second. Like, it was so weird and insta-lovey. I did not enjoy that at all. And the whole resolution and like climax was so weird. It didn't seem to fit the story, because the beginning of the book you kind of feel like, oh, it's like a kind of like magical realism, almost fantasy aspect, like it's a very subtle magic that's going on, but then it just like ramps up. The main character is like a deus ex machina. She like somehow solves everything. I guess that's kind of a spoiler, so I wouldn't recommend reading this. So yeah, I did not enjoy it. How to Win at Feminism, which was written by the writers at Reductress. This is supposed to be like a satirical handbook about how to be the best at feminism. It's just kind of like supposed to be funny, like little quips about like feminist things and like how some people like treat feminism and like say things about feminism. My issue is that it should not have existed. It was way too long. It should have been a pamphlet. It should have been one of Reductress's like online articles. They could have done like a whole series and it would have been like better than this, I feel like, because if you do decide to get this, do not do what I did and try and sit down and read it all. It's not that funny. You're basically reading the same jokes over and over, so it's just boring. And so it turns out you can only take mediocre feminist satire for so long, and my limit was like 10 pages. Next, we have another unpopular opinion, Geekerella. This is another pretty popular book on BookTube. It is a modern Cinderella retelling where we have dual perspectives of Elle, who's like Cinderella, who's like in love with Starfield, which is like this universe's, I guess, version of Star Trek. And it's the one thing that keeps her like connected to her dad, who had passed away before the book. And Starfield is getting a movie, so she decides to enter a costume contest to try and win tickets to like a costume ball at like a con, and the prize is also to meet the person who's playing the main character, and she has to do this while dealing with her evil stepfamily. We also follow the person who's playing the main character in the movie in the other perspective. His name is Darian, and we follow him as he deals with his like dadager. Is that a thing? You know, like momager, like his dad who's also his manager, and he's like dealing with the newfound fame, and a lot of backlash has come because he's a young person like taking charge of this like beloved franchise. So we follow those two perspectives. This was just disappointing for me. I thought it was going to be like a cute fun read, but it was a lot not as cute fun as I wanted it to be. What I have discovered is I probably should not continue reading Cinderella retellings. I feel like most of the problems I had with it were because it was a Cinderella retelling. It was just so hard for me to believe that her stepfamily was so evil. Like, who makes fun of someone because their dad died? Like, I don't know, like maybe it happens in real life, I hope not, but it just seemed very unbelievable for me, almost like a mustache twirling villain, especially the way her stepmother treats her, and like the clear disparity between her treatment and her sister's treatment in like a modern day setting. I feel like someone should notice, but like maybe that's just wishful thinking, but that really upset me. I also thought the characterization fell really flat. I don't think we got to know any of the characters that well. Even Darian, who had a whole perspective, what do I know about him? Like almost nothing. That's how I felt while I was reading it. The only person who I felt like was fleshed out was Elle, which is good because she's the main character, but the other main character I didn't think was fleshed out that well. And the romance was cute, but it didn't do anything for me. I don't know. And it was pretty insta-lovey, so it's just like not my cup of tea. And the last book I'm going to talk about in this video is The Winner's Kiss by Marie Rakowski. I actually own it. I forgot. I almost didn't hold it up, but yeah. This is the third book in the Winner's trilogy, so I can't really give you a synopsis. This takes place in a low fantasy setting, a fantasy world without magic. And in the first book, we follow Kestrel, who's like the daughter of a very high-ranking general in this warmongering society. So they really value war, and they're like the people who like take over other countries and things. And so Kestrel is living on one of their conquered lands, and the people of the land that they conquered are used as slaves. So Kestrel goes to like a slave auction or whatever and buys a slave. And so we follow what happens after that. And then this book just continues that. It's the culmination and another word for ending. I feel like I'm really at odds with everyone else. I feel like, again, this is an unpopular opinion, but I also think it's because I just didn't actually like the series as much as I thought I did, and this just kind of proved it, and it just did like everything wrong for me. My biggest issue was like the first half of this plot is like completely a wash. I don't know why we did that. Like, I didn't understand the point of that storyline at all. We did not need to do that. This could have been like cut in half really, and that whole part just taken out because it just was a waste. And if you read the book, then you know what I'm talking about. That whole plot point with Kestrel and what she was dealing with, I guess, I didn't like it. I didn't really like how the characters changed. I never really liked the romance in this book, so we continue to focus on that. And I guess I can't fault a book for like continuing to be what it is, but I don't know, it just adds on to me not enjoying it that much. So those were my two biggest problems, and those are all the books I'm going to talk about in this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please be sure to give a thumbs up. In the comments down below, let me know what were some of the worst books that you read during 2018. I'd love to know. We can talk about it. If you enjoyed any of these books, let me know. We can talk about our differences. If you also didn't like any of these books, also let me know and we can commiserate. And yeah, so subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so you can be notified whenever I post a video. Follow me on social media. I have Twitter and Goodreads. They're always linked down below. And yeah, again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!